Hey guitar players, today I wanted to talk you through how to take some of the diminished concepts I've been speaking about recently in my recent videos and apply them to a blues progression, so a jazz blues progression. To do that, we're going to have to understand a couple of things like diminished families and a bit about the perfect cadences, you know, the 2-5-1s and all this type of stuff. And then, I will try and demonstrate how this would work in a blues context. So hopefully by the end of the video, you'll know how to do that too, and then you can have a go. Now it's important to know that you don't have to do this. These are just nice little things that you can throw in, and what we're trying to do is practice these sort of cadence moments in the chord progression. But remember, you've still got all of your cool sort of bluesy language that you can do throughout all of this anyway. It's just trying to add in another element, another colour that you can use to craft your solos. So the traditional 12-bar blues just uses 1, 4, and 5, and all of those are dominant 7th chords. However, the jazz blues tends to throw in, not always, but a lot of the time, it tends to throw in a little bit more kind of functional harmony. So there's quite a lot more potential for doing this type of stuff. So if I just talk you through the chord progression, I'm going to do this in C. So we're going to start with C7 for a bar, any type of C7 you like. I'm using a C13 there because I like that particular colour. And then we go to F7. I'm doing F9, but do whatever you like. And then back to C7. And then in the final bar of that first line, so bar 4, we do a 2-5, so we do G minor, C7, so this is a 2-5 into F. Now, when we get there, to stick with our bluesiness, we keep it as an F7, but for all intents and purposes at this moment, this is a 2-5-1. Even though we don't resolve to a major chord or a minor chord, we resolve to a dominant 7th chord, but it still functions like a 2-5-1. So then we do a bar of F7. Sometimes here we do a passing chord. We do an F sharp diminished. Now that's a diminished chord, which is it's its own entity. We'll talk about that later on as well. Then we go back to C7, or it might be like C7 over G. Then you get that sort of passing movement there. F7, F sharp diminished, C7 or C over G. And then we go to A7. I'm doing A7 altered there because that is functioning as the 5 of the next chord, which is going to be D minor or D minor 7, and that's the 2 of the 5 chord of the original key. See, this gets a little confusing, but when you see it written out as well, it kind of makes a little bit of logical sense. So we've got D minor, this is 2, 5, G7, and then we do the turnaround, which goes C, A7, D minor, G7. Alright, so let me just play that round and then you can hear the progression and then maybe have a play along, you know. So 2, 3, 4, C7, F7, C7, G minor 7, C7, F7, F sharp diminished, C7, A7 into D minor, G7, C7, A7, D minor, G7. So in my previous videos, you might have heard me talking about using a diminished arpeggio over a 2-5-1 context and resolving it to a major triad. So in this case, in the key of C, the 2-5-1 would be like D minor, G7, C major. So I'd find my major 7, which is a B, and I'd play a diminished arpeggio there, and I'd resolve it to one of those C major chord tones. So that's just a C triad there. Now in functional harmony, for me at least, the way I think of it is we've got a little moment of tension followed by resolution, right? That's a 2-5-1, D minor, G7, C. rather than think about where we are at a given moment, so rather than think, here I am on D minor, here I am on G7, here I am on C, I find it more efficient to think about where we're going. So rather than think where I am, I'm trying to think, where am I heading to? Okay. And when you simplify it down to that, you've just got tension and resolution. So this diminished thing, this diminished arpeggio, is actually a thing that we're borrowing from the harmonic minor scale, which I've done a video on that previously. Go and have a listen to that. And then we're just kind of resolving it to that C major triad. So we've got tension, resolution. Now there's loads of moments in this progression where we can do that. Okay. Now, in order to kind of really wrap our heads around it though, we need to understand a little bit about diminished families, which sounds quite daunting. Let's try and simplify this. So we know that the diminished arpeggio, thanks to our good friend Yngwie Malmsteen, repeats every 3 frets, or every minor third. This is all the same arpeggio. Okay. So, therefore, really, there's only 3 different diminished arpeggios. There's my diminished thing. If I move it up, that's a different one. If I move it up again, that's a different one. But if I move it up one more, I'm just doing an inversion of that first one. Okay, so there's only 3 different diminished arpeggios. By the same logic, so do the chords that it resolves to, right? Because if I'm going B diminished to C, and I go up here, I'm starting on D, but this is the same arpeggio, this is B diminished still. It also resolves to E flat. F diminished, or still B diminished though, resolves to F sharp, or G flat. And then move up another 3, I've got G sharp diminished, which resolves to A. B diminished resolves to C. B diminished resolves to E flat. Okay, B diminished also resolves to F sharp. Okay, and then it also resolves to A. You hear all of that? So you've just got all of these different keys, all these perfect cadences going on. That same arpeggio resolving to all of those different chords, and that's what we mean by diminished families. Okay, the key of C, E flat, F sharp, and A are all linked through this minor third relationship. I do have some written resources on my Patreon where I've written all of this out, hopefully clearly. Go and check that out if you want to. Thanks to everybody that already has joined. You are amazing, and I can't thank you enough. Let's see now what we can do over the different sections of this 12-bar blues chord progression. Bar 4, we go G minor to C7, and we resolve it to F. If I think of F then, up here, the major 7 is E. That's my quickest way, personally, that's my quickest way of finding this arpeggio. So that's E diminished, which is also the same as C sharp diminished, B flat diminished, or G diminished. Okay, now here there's a C sharp, right? Okay, so I'm going to play there, and I've got an F major triad there. So if I go like this, here's the first 3 bars, C, F, C, and I'm going to go C sharp diminished, resolve to F, like that. Okay, you hear that? You hear the... So we've basically just got a perfect cadence into F using that diminished thing. Now I like to approach things in a 3-string at a time sort of basis, right? This comes from all the time I've spent practicing triads, you know, in string groups. So learning all the triads on this string group, learning all the triads on this string group, and on this string group. So I would, to begin with, to get into this concept, I'd stay on the first 3 strings and then start to see how these movements work. So C sharp diminished, F major, and I'd try and do that in every triad position on that string group. So B flat diminished, F major, or G diminished, F major, or E diminished up here, F major, like that. Now if we mix that in with some bluesy language, so you know, we've got like some variety going on here, which is it's kind of what this is all about, you know. Okay, if we look at the bar 4 of the next line, so we've gone C, F, C, G minor, C, F7, F sharp diminished, we'll come back to that in a minute, C7 down to A7, which is taking us to D minor, okay. Right, let's find D minor, find its major 7, oh look, it's the same one, it's C sharp again. Okay, now we touched on this in the previous video, F major, D minor, they're relative, right? D minor is the relative minor of F, so it makes sense that this will be the same arpeggio, right? So all we do here, we do the exact same arpeggio, but we just resolve it to D minor, and a lot of those notes are the same thing, okay? So I'll play through the first 8 bars then. So I'll try and just target the cadence point. So I've got C7. So I'm going to go, that's F. Then A7. D minor. Yeah, so you got so that's quite nifty, right? Because it's the same thing. We want to recycle the things we already know. That's how we remember stuff. I think that's how I remember stuff anyway, is by attaching it onto what I already know. So I know that this works over going to F and going to D minor. Okay, that's really cool. If we continue into the final line, so we've got D minor, G7. So where are we going? D minor, G7 is heading towards C major, okay? Alright, so C major gives me that diminished thing on the major 7th there is B. So it's not the same one as before, but it's only 2 frets away. Okay, so we're using one of the other diminished arpeggios. So that gives me a way to resolve back into C. Okay, so it's quite interesting when you just play over these cadence points. You're building in tension and resolution into your lines, which is one of the fundamental kind of features of jazz improvisation, is tension resolution, playing over the cadences within a functional harmony context. Now, what about this F sharp diminished passing chord in the middle there? So now I said earlier on we can kind of treat this as its own thing somewhat, you know, because it's not functioning in this quite the same way. It's not working as like a 2-5-1 because we're not resolving to G, or we're not resolving to E, or we're not resolving to C sharp or B flat, which are diminished families. We're actually using this as a passing chord to go from F sharp diminished, C over G is kind of what we do a lot of the time in this situation. So it's chromatic movement. So we kind of treat this on its own a little bit more. But F sharp diminished is the same as A diminished, is the same as C diminished, and E flat diminished. So that's here, right? So when we went to F, we used C sharp diminished. You know, when we went to C, we used B diminished. Like that. And when we're using this one, we can use C diminished. So we're actually using all three of those original arpeggios that we looked at, right? Okay, what I'm going to try and do is improvise over a blues, and I'm just going to target those cadence points with these diminished arpeggios. Okay, C, F, C, 2-5 into F. Okay, and I'm going to wait, and I'm going to do the 5 into D minor, like that, and then 2-5 into C, and then again, F7, wait, and goes for F. 2-5 into D minor, and then into C, alright, so maybe I'll throw that passing chord in there. Into C. Okay, and again. Alright, so what I'm going to try and do now, if I can, is venture around the fretboard, down the string groups a little bit, and yeah, see how that goes. So wish me luck. This is into D minor, and then into C. Into F, and then into D minor, into C, and again there. Okay, so now I'm going to try and mix this together with a bit of bluesy language and see where that goes. Into D minor. Into C. F sharp diminished. Into D minor. Into C. A bit scruffy maybe, but yeah, you know, when you go in the microscope with these things, you sometimes fall in the trap of overthinking them, you know, but eventually when you practice this enough, it just becomes something that you hear, you know, you just freely sort of find this stuff and let it sort of flow as you kind of improvise, you know, once you've spent enough time working on the individual components. See how it goes, let me know how you get on, and yeah, have some fun.